Ah, the end of summer. The end of the season in life when things go from easy breezy and laid back to frenetic, filled with multiple schedules to manage. Welcome everyone to episode number 233 of the In a Weekend podcast. I'm your host, Yong, and today we're talking all about going back to school means back to business. My girls started back to school on Monday, and I still find myself struggling a little bit with getting back in a routine. For my girls, they actually will go to school 4 days during this first week, and then they'll have 4 days off, and then 4 days back after Labor Day. We have Fair Day here on Friday, the last Friday of August, so the kids really get to ease back into their schedule. But I have to admit that since getting back from Podcast Movement and being gone for a week just 2 weeks ago, I've been struggling with getting myself back to a routine so that I can get things that I know I need to get done without them taking forever. Today, I wanted to share 4 tips with you on what I'm doing right now, 4 strategies that I'm testing out and using on myself to help me get back into the swing of things, because now that the kids are gone to school all day, that means that is the time that I want to be productive and get my work done. I don't want to try to have to work when they're home because most of the time they don't need me right away. However, I want to clear my schedule to allow time to hang out with them, to sign paperwork, especially at the beginning of the year, as all of you parents can relate to, and just be there for them as they get back into school themselves. This year has been an exciting year because my oldest is a junior in high school. She's also taking 3 college classes, which means she has both college and high school level classes to complete. So she's definitely busy, and I want to make sure that I'm there to help her, whether that's with homework. Although I have to admit that she doesn't need me much for homework anymore. She's very, very self-sufficient and driven to do these things herself. My youngest is in her last year of middle school, and she actually gets to go to the high school for her math class this year, which is super exciting, a little bit stressful to be the youngest kid at the school, taking a class that a lot of people, quite honestly, struggle with. On top of that, my oldest is now driving. It's official. She got her license back I think earlier this month or end of July, and she actually is doing transportation in the morning and after school. Even though we only live less than a mile from the school, I used to spend 30 to 45 minutes going to school early, finding a place to park, doing those things before and after school. So now that time is freed up for me as well. So I feel like I'm in this brand new season of not only work, but of life where I no longer have to be mom the taxi. So let's dive into these strategies. The first thing I have stopped doing is checking my email and my social media in the morning. I'm curious to know how many of you do those things first thing when you wake up. For me, I use my smartphone as an alarm clock, so it's by my bed. And it was really tempting to roll over, turn off the alarm, and dive right into other people's lives and other people's agendas, really triggering me to start comparing myself to others, which if you have done that, you know it's a dangerous game to play. So what I did is I actually deleted my social media apps, except for Instagram, and my email app off of my phone so that the only way that I can check them now is on a computer. I am really attempting to get back onto the routine of only checking my email once a day in the afternoons and responding for an hour or so in the afternoon, and that is it. And I'm really wanting to stay off social for the most part, but really planning the time that I want to spend there. And typically that is the afternoon time as well. That is something I can actually do when my girls are home, because usually the activities I need to do on social are pretty short and sweet and fast little 2 or 3 minute things I can do in between other things. So number one, I deleted the social apps and email off of my phone, so I am not tempted to start my day with that or end my day scrolling mindlessly at things I just have no business looking at. Number two, I've talked about this here on the podcast before, and that's the idea of time blocking and really setting alarms. Once school was back in session, I actually went through my calendar. I used Google Calendar, and I put some alerts and alarms and notifications inside my calendar so that it reminds me to do certain things at certain times. I know that my time block on Monday, I have time scheduled to do marketing kind of related activities. Every day kind of has a different theme for me, but I put those in chunks of time so I can work on that. In doing so, I'm not having to change tasks and do one project for a few minutes, jump into the other one, try to get back to where I was. It really was not productive, and it was really making me feel like at the end of the day, nothing ever got done. So time blocking with those notifications on my phone have definitely been helping me get back into the swing of things. Along with time blocking, I've included something called a jam session. And this is something I learned from Darren Hardy, who is a master at productivity. He talks about creating these jam sessions, which typically occur for most people in the mornings when our brains are the most active, we're the most vibrant, we're the most creative, where you block time on your calendar to do one singular activity. For me this week, I have been working on something brand new for you. I am working on a brand new freebie all about 13 reasons why you shouldn't start a podcast. That's coming up very soon, but that's what I have been doing in these jam sessions. So here's what this jam session looks like. I will choose my place that I'm going to work, whether here in my office or maybe at the kitchen table, or maybe I want to work outside for a bit on a laptop. I go to that place and I set a timer. During the time the timer is counting down, I don't allow myself to check social, to check emails, to answer phone calls. All I do during that jam session is that thing. And trust me when I say this has been a really hard one for me to get back into the swing of things with, because throughout the summer, I allowed myself to get a little bit lazy as far as my routine and didn't really put safeguards on my time. I would often try to do multiple things at the same time. And of course, we all know that when that happens, nothing really gets done. So it's been difficult to stick to this time block because typically I will set either 25 or 30 minutes and I'll do 2 or 3 of them with a little break where I grab water or stand up and walk around the house. I do something kind of to change my state, to change my environment, which usually is enough for me to get re-inspired to continue working for that jam session. And then this has been really big too. I just said that during the jam session, I just do one thing. And every day on my calendar now, instead of trying to do 5 or 6 or 7 or 25 things that are on my to-do list, I am just choosing one activity per day. My one activity today was to prepare and get ready for showing up for you here on the podcast, on this live video, so that I could really give you all of myself and really give you the information that I wanted to share with you today and really be open with my struggles with getting back on this routine, because honestly, I am totally missing my girls, and I miss when they would pop their head around and look through my window and wait for me to wave them in so they could come give me a hug and a snuggle or ask a question. Not seeing them throughout the day has really kind of bummed me out a little bit. So these safeguards that I put into my schedule are helping me get back onto the schedule and back to business, because my summer schedule looks very different than my schedule now, or the schedule that I aspire to have by the end of this month, locked and loaded. So let's review the 4 strategies that I'm using to get back to business now that school is back in session. Number 1, I don't check my email or social first thing in the morning, and I highly recommend you delete them off of your smartphone. Sacrilege, I know. Trust me on this. It's going to save you so much time. I was wasting an exorbitant amount of time scrolling those things when nothing was pressing, and then letting myself get wrapped up into other people's businesses when I really needed to just focus on mine, especially first thing in the morning. Number 2, I went into my calendar and blocked out times during the day that I was going to work. And I set notifications and alarms so that I could be reminded of when it was time to move on or work on a particular activity. Number 3, I've been working on jam sessions. Right now, I can get 2 or 3 jam sessions done first thing in the morning when I'm the most productive after my kids leave from school. And that has been really working on helping me get back into the swing of things, motivating me to get stuff done, because things are happening in a faster way than I could have imagined, because by blocking the time, I'm telling my subconscious that I only have this amount of time to get something done. So it's lighting that fire underneath me to get the things done that I know need to get done. And last but not least, I am focusing on one thing. I'm doing one thing every day that I want to accomplish, like doing the podcast for you today. It's my one main activity that I'm going to put all my energy into making awesome for that day. So there you have it, my strategies for getting back into the swing of things, getting back into your business now that school is back in session or nearly back in session for you. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below or head over to yongpratt.com/233 and share your best tips for getting back into the swing of things now that school is back in session. Stay tuned for next week's episode, where I'm going to share how to move on when things don't go as planned. Until then, I wish you an amazing day, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers, my friends.